Cobalt is mined across the world, and the vast majority is produced as a byproduct from large-scale copper and nickel mines. The process of cobalt mining involves many steps, including locating sustainable deposits and extracting the ore before refining it into a usable form.
A miracle metal to a deadly chemical as toxic dumping and devastating landscapes, polluting water, and contaminating crops. Concentrations of cobalt have been linked to the death of crops and worms, which are vital for soil fertility.
The main reason we mine cobalt is because it is a critical component in the batteries used in electric vehicles and electronic devices.
Democratic Republic of Congo, where the southern mining town of Kolwezi sits on huge reserves of cobalt, a crucial metal for making rechargeable batteries that power electric vehicles, the mobile phones that we use, and also laptops. But as the world is moving away from fossil fuels, there's concern that the growing demand for cobalt is affecting people at its main source. Now, in a recent report, Amnesty International details alleged forced evictions and human rights abuses targeting communities in the DRC as mining companies expand their operations.
A person who has been forcefully evicted from his home due to the cobalt mines expanding over time. Cobalt mines have taken out many people from their homes, moving them to conditions where it's unlivable.
How widespread this problem is?
I mean, we describe it in the report as a systemic issue because thousands and thousands of people are concerned. Many of the concessions that we visited are home to, 40,000 plus people. Kolwezi itself is a city that is 500,000 people. And the issue really spreads across the Lualaba province, the Haut-Katanga, and is something that affects people who live all across the Copper Belt, which is a region that stretches all the way from southern DRC to northern Zambia.
Hi. Hey Hartley, do you know what cobalt mining is?
It's where you go underground and you find like Bitsy's car, like cobalt mining.
It's mined for cobalt, so cobalt can be used in whatever applications cobalt is used for.
Cobalt mining. Well, cobalt is a mineral, and mining is mining, meaning taking something out of the ground to use.
Correct.
Okay.
Well, mining for cobalt.
Sure. How do you think cobalt mining is done?
Pickaxe and a sword.
Obviously underground, but probably like any other mine.
I think it would be a mine shaft where they go down and bring up ore, and then they use acids to extract the metal, and then they go through all sorts of different processes to remove the unwanted metals from the metals that they want until they can get cobalt by itself.
I don't think I know.
People are so under the radar of what actually goes on in cobalt mines. People who have gone and professionally researched about cobalt mines have said that the working conditions are very subhuman, grinding and degrading conditions. They have to use pickaxes and shovels to dig tunnels, and some may use sticks or rebar to hack at the rocks to break them loose. Kids under the age of 10 who work at cobalt mines are used to dig ditches with their bare hands and sort through all the cobalt that is dropped into the ditches they've dug.
Various health problems have risen due to the accidents causing internal damage or even death. Inhaling toxic chemicals and gases causing workers to become very ill and may die. Also, violence between workers due to long periods and intense heat. Some say it causes them to go delusional and take out their anger on others, resulting in massive fights between crowds of workers. It also doesn't just damage the health of the workers, it also is polluting our waters from the chemicals seeping into our waterways and continuing on to others, and the toxic gases polluting our air as well.
Do you know the labor behind cobalt mining or how bad the work environment is?
Nope.
Not exactly sure. I would think it would be dependent on wherever the cobalt mines are and where the regulations are.
Is it bad?
Oh, it's bad,
Okay, so no, I don't know.
There you go.
No, they work hard down there.
Yeah, they do. It's estimated that around 25,000 children are in the progression and working in cobalt mines, helping supply batteries for our phones and car batteries. And we are a part of the problem because we keep making more and more phones and electric vehicles so they have to work more and more to supply for these batteries. that we need to make these new technologies to be able to work and run efficiently. Kids' main jobs are to haul heavy loads on their backs to the top of hills for it to be sorted through, or they are digging tunnels or ditches for other workers to start digging to look for cobalt.
A middle-aged worker in a cobalt mine earns around $8.50 per day for 12 hours of work. Most workers suffer from major lung disease after long-term working in mines, and most have died a few years after they have been diagnosed with lung disease. The average age of a young worker is around 15 to 16 years old. The youngest can go up to 6.
The workers of cobalt mines are going into the mines they have dug by hand or with rebar and shovels without protective gear or any eye protection whatsoever. They also do not wear footwear or any gloves. The mines that workers have dug are unsupported, so if someone dies, it's very unaware or hard to tell within the big crowd of any missing workers.
Those mines, and found that these tunnels are unsupported. There are lots of accidents in these mines. And the people who go down into them don't have protective equipment. They don't have boots or gloves or helmets, and they don't have face masks. The government of the DRC needs to take urgent steps to make sure that all children are removed from these illegal and unauthorized mining areas. They need to make sure that these children have a different kind of future, that they can go to school rather than do this work which exposes them to terrible harm and means they're not having a proper education.
What do you think the minimum payment of a cobalt miner would be?
Like how much the employee would be paid?
Yeah.
Again, it could be next to nothing or it could be zero, depending on which country we're getting those metals from.
Yeah.
Minimum payment, like hourly wage?
Yeah, sure.
$20 an hour? Because I'm guessing it's bad.
Yeah.
$15.
$15?
Is it?
Cobalt mining is still a big scheme to this day, and people are still unaware from the research that we have done that they have no clue this is still going on. Are we the problem? We can't tell, but for sure I think so. There have been some researchers around the world trying to completely stop cobalt mines, or if not, trying to make them more suitable and able for people to work without getting harmed. They are also trying to get the minimum age of workers from 18 and up. They don't want to see any more children or younger kids in the mines working for no pay or any protective gear on their heads, eyes, or feet. Most kids are skipping out on school to work in these mines and aren't getting the proper education they need to grow and develop as a human being. Most kids deserve a formal education so they have a chance at getting a good life and maybe a better job instead of working in these mines. People never really realized about how much they are affecting and being a problem to help with the cobalt mines. We're on our phones every day and don't even realize or care to research about how our phones are made and where our batteries come from. You could be watching TikTok all day or even watching Instagram and you'd have no clue about what the labor is behind making a phone. People are so distracted on their phones and don't realize what a gift they have and a privilege they have just in their hands. Most kids as cobalt miners will never get to see what this cobalt is going to or will never touch a phone in their lifetime. Now just ask yourself, are we the problem? What can we do to fix it? Can we put our phones down? Can we get rid of our phones? Can we stop producing phones? No. We keep making the problem bigger by making more phones, more electric vehicles, and making more work for kids and elderly people working in cobalt mines.